Welcome to Dreamcatchers. I'm Diane O'Connor, and in this series, we will hear from NBSRT members who have retired and have gone on to their next chapter following their dreams. We will meet people who have taken the leap and have gone on to have great adventures and wonderful life experiences. One such dreamcatcher and our first interview for the series is with Vernon Goodfellow from the Miramichi. Vernon retired after a 36-year teaching career where he rose all the way from science teacher up to superintendent. He went on to finish his career in education by setting up international high schools in China and teaching in England. One would think that all those marvelous milestones would be enough for anyone, but not for Vernon. Being an adventurous sort, Vernon set out to follow his dreams, and that is where we'll begin today. After reading about your bio and everything, the things that you've done, my goodness, you've done a lot of travel. Can you tell us about some of your trips and some of the adventures that you've had?
Yes, Don and I do love to travel, and we have done a lot of it. Some of it was based out of Asia. When we were over in China, we traveled extensively to other countries. Thailand, beautiful beaches, beautiful people. Vietnam, incredible shopping. Cambodia, temples. I remember a friend and I went on a bike trip over the west side of China and into Laos. The funny thing when I'm thinking back about being on those trips, there's some of the little things that come to mind. And I'm going to tell you a particular one that kind of was a vivid memory. Bill and I were biking in the western side of China up towards the border, and it was in an agricultural area. And we were biking by a big field, maybe 100 acres. And across the field, there was a string of ladies, maybe 50 of them. And in that part of the world, I think there's a dye culture. And they wear these beautiful, brightly colored, long dresses down to the ankles. And they were all chattering away, having a great time. What they were doing was planting rice. Well, these two old fellows come biking by, and all of a sudden the line went quiet. And everybody stopped and looked at us. And we used our one Chinese word, and we said, "Ni hao," and waved our hand. And the whole line broke out into laughter, gales of laughter you wouldn't believe. Anyway, funny little memories. But anyway, lots of beautiful memories, lots of places to travel. We also traveled quite extensively in Europe. We did some canal boat traveling. Still plan to do more. Beautiful countries, beautiful people. Also, in recent times, we've been down, we tend to go south in the winter, and we spent time in Mexico and Ecuador, and more recently in Costa Rica. And beautiful countries, again, and wonderful experiences.
Sounds like it. Now, I've been to China many years ago as well, and it is a beautiful country. Wasn't there a bicycle trip that got you caught unawares at one point when you were coming from Laos? I think you said something about that in a recent storytelling.
Yes. I was. That's kind of a story. You wonder whether I should tell. But anyway, we were over. We wanted to go into Laos, and we had flown into the western side of China into Jinghong. And from there, we got buses. And we went into Laos, away into one of the cities there, and we bought bicycles. And then we biked across Laos and across the border and back into China. And you could, stories galore. People get the biggest kick out of these two old guys on bicycles. But anyway, we came back across, and we were into a bar near where we were staying one night, and a lady approached us and said she was a guide and would be happy to guide us the next day. So we took her up on the offer, and the next morning we get up and loaded our bicycles up on top of a bus and went to a neighboring city. And from there, then we biked all day and went up incredible experiences. And she took us into people's houses and into different cultures. And it was just an amazing day. But I guess it was too amazing a day because we got late. And on the way back, she said we could not get a bus because we were too late to get a bus back. So somehow she recognized the vehicle. And so we stopped and we went into a little restaurant and we met these couple of people, this couple. And he had a vehicle and he was going to take us back into Jing home. So that was great. We got in the vehicle and put our bikes in the back and away we went. And right off, I knew something was wrong because he put a police red light up on top of his Jeep, turned on a siren, and down the road we went at breakneck speed in very dark conditions, road full of vehicles and people and animals. Oh, it was kind of crazy. And it was, because then we hit one of the vehicles on the road, and all of us ended up in the ditch. And I don't know if people are hurt or what the story was, because he didn't stop. He just shifted in another gear and up onto the road. But by this time, his right front wheel was bent out of alignment major way. But didn't matter, that tire squealing. Down the road we went. We went through a city. And again, we didn't obey any of the red lights or anything, and we nearly ran over people and on up into a backyard. And I said, finally, that's over. And in the yard was a brand new Honda Accord. And they said, well, that takes us into the city. Well, my friend Bill and I decided, well, we gave our bikes to our guide because we couldn't put them in the Honda Accord. We had to get rid of them anyway. So we climbed into the back of the Honda Accord with our guide, and the girlfriend and her boyfriend were in the front. Well, what a problem, because now all of a sudden, another red light up on top of the car, another siren, and there we go, tearing down the road. And we get up onto the highway, a two-way highway, a nice highway, but two-way highway with a lot of traffic. And we were screaming down that highway. And the odd thing was, we spent more time on the opposite side of the road against the traffic than we did on our side, because we were traveling at such an incredible rate of speed. And we thought we were going to die. You couldn't do that in Canada because the traffic wouldn't know enough to get out of the way fast enough. We were right on top of vehicles. But anyway, down the road we went, and then Bill and I in the back crouched down behind the seat, expecting a major crash. And finally, we ended back up in the city, and we got out, and his girlfriend was crying. And I mean, I took her hands in mine, and I said, it's okay. It's okay. So then our guide got out, and she said she wanted them to take us out to explain to us what had happened. And so she took us out later to a tea ceremony of all things, quite a ceremony. And she explained what the story was. He had been drinking Baijiu, which is the national drink, and he was having a fight with his girlfriend. And so that was raw, dirty, male ego. He was showing her who was the boss. And the reason he got away with it, he was the head of the drug cartel for that part of the world, and so the police couldn't touch him.
Oh my goodness, what a story! And I imagine you wanted more than tea after that.
The tea was lovely. It was pu'er tea. You could look it up. It's kind of funny. The lady, the guide, felt so bad about it. She had purchased some lovely presentation packages of tea to present to us, and they looked like cow patties, but the tea was fine.
Oh my goodness. Well, that sounds like a hair-raising experience for sure. But I know that you've had another hair-raising experience with a volcano.
Yes, I love to climb. The year I was sailing, I had climbed 13 mountains, and if I see a mountain that's climbable, I'm not a professional climber. I don't use equipment or anything, but if it's a mountain that I can get up reasonably, I try to climb it. And so Anne had researched it and told me that there was this continuously erupting volcano, Stromboli, in the Mediterranean, and she wanted to go there, and I wanted to go there. So we stopped there, and her boyfriend Chris was on board, and so we went up the mountain. We made a mistake because we went up the backside, which was an ash slope. Trying to climb up an ash slope is an ordeal. But anyway, we got up to the top of the mountain after incredible effort, and they stopped. I don't know. That's a little story too. But anyway, and I went on up to the edge of the crater, and I'm looking down into the crater, and I know it was going to blow, and it did, and it was the most incredible volume of sound that you could ever imagine coming out of that mountain. And then the lava blew the lava way, way up in the air, and needless to say, I was watching very carefully to make sure that that lava was going to go back down the crater, which it did. Now, it sounds kind of more dangerous than it is, because we knew what that mountain normally blows like, and I had a backup plan. There was a ledge there that if that lava had come my way, I would have been under that ledge. Kind of as a funny side bit to that story, our boat was called Endless Love, and the reason my daughter Anne and Chris had stopped because there were some love exchanges. And I think that's where the marriage get promised.
Well, that's kind of a nice end to that story. My goodness. You had an eruption with a volcano and a marriage proposal.
Oh, well, I mean, it doesn't get any
what
better
else
than
could you ask for? Wow, that's really cool. Oh, my goodness. Now, I know that you have a passion for sailing as well. So, and there was a big trip that you took, I believe. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that was in, the beginning was probably back in the early 2010. I said to Donna, I always wanted to sail, and I always sailed a little bit with my brother, not extensively, but I had done some coastal sailing. But I always wanted to cross an ocean. So I said to Donna, what would you say if I said I wanted to buy a sailboat and sail across to the Europe? And Donna looked at me and said, well, Vernon, I'd be scared the whole time you're gone. But if that is something you wanted to do, you go ahead and do it. Now, not many wives would do that, but she allowed it. So I went and bought a sailboat. I worked on it for a year. Our daughter, Anne, which is our second daughter, very similar kind of orientation to life to me. She was very much a part of that. She lives in Australia, but she came home. And so we got the boat ready, and away we set off for Europe. And the other condition Donna said, now, if you're going to do this, I want you back inside the year, and I want the sailboat solo when you finish. So we did. We made it back in 364 days and 8 hours. We visited 32 countries. We had 24 different crew. We had unbelievable experiences. We left here on May 15th on 2011. We went across. The first landfall was on the Azores in the middle of the Atlantic. Very, very lovely islands. We got caught in quite a major storm on the way across, which was an experience. And then we sailed into the Mediterranean through Gibraltar, Ibiza. There's a story. Ibiza is a party island. And when you sail into Ibiza, we come in late in the night, and you could hear the boom, 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 boom of the drums going. But the people fly in there from all over Europe, and they have what are called bubble parties. And they wear whites.
That doesn't sound very good.
They go into this massive room, and they fill the room up to, I don't know, shoulder level with foam. And I think the drug of choice is ecstasy. And what goes on below the foam, you can only guess. But anyway, it's a world-renowned party site. So we were in Ibiza and then across. Spent a lot of time in Italy, up the east coast of Italy, across into Croatia, down. And Donna joined us there. Donna flew over and joined us in Italy, across to Croatia, down the Croatian coast to Montenegro, and on and on. We visited a lot of countries, had a wonderful time.
That does sound like a wonderful time. My goodness gracious. Such an expansive trip. And of course, having a party along the way always makes it fun.
Yes, yes. One of the features of that year that I'll treasure forever, as adults, we don't very often get time to spend with our adult children. And during that trip, we have 3 daughters. And during that trip, they all had an opportunity to join me for a considerable time, and so it's very special.
It must be, for sure. I don't think too many people can say that they've sailed around the world with their children like that. And I mean, to be with your children is one thing, and to share experiences, that even to go camping is a great experience for a lot of people. But to do such adventures with your adult children, and your girls are so into it, which is a wonderful thing as well.
Yes, but the Anne is still very much into it. She lives in Melbourne, but we're going to Melbourne this fall, and she's already lining up sailing trips that we can do. So.
Oh, wow. How nice. Something to look forward to. I mean, Vernon, it sounds like you never sit still. So, I mean, that's just your life. You've never.
Do you think I might be a hyperactive?
Well, maybe a little, but that's not a bad thing. My goodness.
No, it's one of my lines as a teacher. You often have children that are in your classroom that are somewhat hyperactive. I always say to them, school is not a great place for hyperactive, but as an adult, it's actually a benefit. It'll motivate you into all kinds of things.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And it sounds like, I mean, you haven't, as we say, you haven't sat still since you retired. You did a lot of things in your teaching career, but then once you retired, you went on to do many more wonderful adventures. And when we're talking to people who are looking at retirement, for example, they're in their last 5 years, what kind of advice would you give them about that word retirement, which scares a lot of people, frankly? So what would you say to them about planning their own dreams and catching that wave? What can they do?
Well, I mean, you've used the right words. It's a magical time. I've often think about your work times. During our working lives, we're all so busy. I mean, we're raising families. You're trying to stretch the dollar to do this and build a home and do volunteer work. Prepare lesson plans. I mean, your life is full, and there's not much time for anything. And then all of a sudden, you're retired, and you've got this magical piece of time stretching out in front of you that's not full, and you can then do all those things that you couldn't do, or you wanted to do but couldn't do when you were working. And for sure, there's things. One of the first things I did is I built this cottage. It's sitting right on the edge of the Miramichi River, and which we very much enjoy. And then obviously we traveled all over the place, and we still travel all over the place. And we also do a fair bit of volunteer work. I think as I've gotten older, it's clearly my mission in life is to help other people, and that's really very satisfying.
Yes, and anyone who is a teacher, that's part of their whole being, is to help others, really. And as you say, there are many ways to follow your dream. It doesn't have to be a big wild adventure. It can be, because you can have a wish list and set out to do some of those things. But even just staying at home and in your own community, doing things that are really worthwhile, like volunteering, like becoming part of an organization like a nonprofit, for example, even joining a food bank and helping out there, doing those types of things, because teachers have such a great life experience, and they've done so many things in their life, whether it's raising a family or whether it's, just going on those lovely trips with kids that we always did. When we took them to Quebec and those places. So teachers have wonderful things to share with people. And just because you're retired, that doesn't mean you have to stop. You can keep sharing and keep doing things just as you have done.
Yes, I think teachers, I've often thought that high-end teaching has the most broad skill set of almost any group of people. And they certainly carry that into retirement. And probably, I think probably everyone knows that the real danger in retirement and getting old is to sit back and do nothing. It's just very bad for us physically. It's very bad for us mentally. And so you need to get out and connect and laugh and have a drink, have a good time, do what turns your crank, and have a good life.
Exactly. And as you said, connect. And it's connect with people, connect with doing things, keep going, because as you say, it's not just, moving around. It's mentally, physically, emotionally, all those things we have to take care of, especially after we retired, because we're used to doing one thing for so many years. Now we're shifting gears and we're going to do something else.
Yes, right? Making videos too.
Yes, like this. I think this is wonderful. I mean, we can share our experiences and we can encourage people to get out there and take that first step, because we all have dreams, no matter how big or small, but it's the first step that is the hardest. So hearing from someone like you who took a huge first step and partied in Ibiza,
I didn't go in. I wanted to go in, but I was scared I'd sink below the foam and never reappear.
I think that's a wonderful story. Oh my goodness. And if people can hear this, our fellow teachers and people who are about to retire or who have already retired, if they can hear stories like this, it will encourage them to get out and do something fun and enjoy life, because we all want to live long and prosper, as they say. So we hope that people will enjoy our interview today, and we'll come back for many more conversations that we will have. Thank you, Vernon, for sharing your adventures with us today.
Well, it's a real joy talking to you.
Thanks.